Good morning. Oh, it's so bright and early. Oh. I added some supplements to my repertoire, and my poor sensitive body does not know what to do with it, so now I have had a headache for 2 days. And I know that that's what's causing it because I haven't done anything different. And to add to that, it's affecting my sleep. So I apparently cannot take them after noon or I'm up too late, which is awful because anytime you affect my sleep, everything else cascades. I don't know how y'all react to changes, but my body lets me know immediately, aha, you have changed a thing. You should not change a thing. It's frustrating. Okay. We are still between Imbolc and Beltane. I'm not going to do Celtic Devotional because I want to spend a little bit of time going over Power of 7 Scorpios, power to conjure lower vibrational forces. I think the card is pretty cool. It's a very stylized Hollywood version of things. I think it's really pretty. Power of 7 Scorpions. I don't know if anybody knows anything about there was an art movement that when they originally discovered Tutankhamun's tomb, and there was a huge archaeological movement, and it created a huge Art Nouveau, or Art Nouveau was influenced by it. I don't remember my art history on that, but there was a huge fascination with Egypt. Anyway, and a lot of the Hollywood stuff reminds me of that. Lady Isis teaches the art of conjuring, of being able to use will and word to gain dominion over lower vibrational energies. We must be careful to use this gift with compassion, respect, and love. Using words with care and firmness will bring a great deal of healing into your life. You are guided to become aware of the power of your words and to realize that that they are becoming very effective as a healing instrument. The lady was able to cause the poison of 7 scorpions to yield her healing intent by naming them and dominating their poison. She also did so out of compassion to save the life of a young boy. In this story lies the mystery of her conjuring art that is awakened in you. To name the poison requires careful and clear assessment. If you judge or resist really knowing it, you are unlikely to be able to accurately name, therefore gain power over that poison. If you stay curious, detached, and compassionate, your perception and ability to wield the power that comes with the ability to accurately name something will increase. The poison may be jealousy, resentment, fear, or guilt. It may be blame, shame, anger, possession born of abandonment or rejection in the past. It may be the poison that is a source from within, your own self, or rejected into your system from another. It could be an actual phrase or insult, cruel childhood nickname or taunt, even said in humor, but that wounded an open body soul at the time. It might be a cultural poison, such as the sickness evidenced in our cultural images of the feminine body, that leads to distorted perceptions of ideal body image, hatred of our bodies, and disordered eating. The poison might be your own fear of success or failure. It might be quite simply the ego in a dramatic, endless spiral of suffering from which there appears to be no respite. Isis can help you heal and grow more powerful than any poison, your system or relationship, or any toxic environment by helping you name it. Take ownership of the situation and make any inner changes necessary that you can either effect transformation of the situation or are transported from it by your changing vibration, which then draws the different circumstance more aligned to your frequency. Conjuring and dominion of this art does not occur by force or by forcing against something you are giving power through your resistance. The power to conjure and healing mysteries of Lady Isis comes with compassion, resilience, realization of the truth. So this card was one of those where, so many years ago, I had a wonderful counselor. I've probably had, I don't know, probably 5 or 6 male counselors, and all the others have been female in my life. And one of the most powerful counselors I've ever had was actually a retired psychiatrist. He was amazing. Retired. He studied psychiatry in the 60s. Had a practice, very successful practice, was retired. Was kind of seeing people just because I think he was bored. And one of the things that he took me on as a patient, he told me, now I don't know if it's true, but he told me that he took me on as a free patient because, 1, I didn't have any money. B, because I was the most fascinating person he had talked to in decades. I don't know if that was a compliment or not. I'm going to take it as that. But one of the things that he told me, he said that he had never had a client that was so self-aware and had figured out how to untangle situations with words that helped heal as I was untangling them. And I wasn't entirely sure what he meant till a couple years later. But it was one of those things I wrote in my journal, like, I don't understand. I'm trying to understand. Maybe this is a psychologist thing, because I'd mostly had counselors up until that point. I hadn't actually had a retired psychiatrist as a counselor. And so I thought maybe it was a psychiatry thing or a psychology, a doctorate psychology thing. And years later, I was detangling a situation, and I realized that I had kind of figured out what he meant, is that I was trying to unravel a word. Somebody had used a word in reference to me, and it was not a word that I would have ever used for myself. And so I do the thing where I go to the dictionary, I look up the meaning, I look up the root word of the meaning, I look up alternative, other words that mean the same thing, and try to understand why someone would have used that word in reference to me. Because this is the thing. You can't know someone else's perspective unless you've been there. And you can't really understand somebody else's perspective truly because you're not them. But you can do the best you can by understanding maybe the words that they're using, the inflection that they're using, the stories that they tell you, the behaviors that they display. I am a student of watching people and listening to people because I don't understand things. Now, many years later, I discover, I have autism, I have ADHD, my world makes a lot more sense. I just don't think like other people do. Cool. Relief. But I have almost 50 years of watching people and detangling the words from the behaviors, detangling their meanings of things. Maybe words that they use aren't words that I would normally use. And why is that? What do they mean? What's their perceptions? And the healing process that comes through asking questions has helped me. It has helped me work through trauma. It has helped me work through understanding my world, accepting my world. Because one of the things that I learned very young from grandma was that my grandmas and my dad, pretty much, both of my grandmas and my dad, they were teachers of love. They were real teachers of acceptance and love and non-judgment. My father is a very good example of really teaching what it means to have unconditional love, really showing that. Not just saying it, showing it, demonstrating it. And with the traumas of how I grew up with my mother, it was in complete opposition. And they're still together. So many of my stories sound like my father and my mother are not together, but they are still together. They have been married, oh my goodness, 40 years, 40 something years. So this particular card, what it talks about in the gain dominion over lower vibrational energies with using the gift of compassion, respect, and love. Using words with care and firmness will bring healing to your life. One of the things that my father was very adamant is that you read, loving the written word. I can't spell to save my life, but I am very good at language. I'm very good at words. One of my favorite classes in college was the history, structure, and nature of language. It was one of my favorite classes. I still have the handout, actually. My teacher was so good, she wrote her own book, basically. And I was going somewhere. So the psychiatrist that I saw, who was my counselor, he was amazing. And he said that when you go through the process of understanding through not just talking about what happened, but untangling the person's words that came at me, the words I used to describe an event, and then taking those words apart, and then finding where the acceptance is caused the healing. And I look at it going one step further, which is recognizing the unconditional love that I can give the situation and the person through understanding, through words, through untangling the circumstance, through words that make sense, that describe the event, that break up the event, that detangle the circumstance so that it makes sense. I can forgive pretty much anyone, any behavior, and learn to love them through understanding their fear, through understanding their anxiety, through understanding their behaviors, and still then create a healthy boundary between me and them. And that requires journaling. Oh my goodness, lots and lots of journaling. It requires lots of asking questions, using my dictionary, understanding why, what for, how. I've had people, I've had people hurt me. I've had people behave really badly towards me. And then others of my friends or my family ask me why I can forgive them, or how I can be so accepting of people's bad behavior. And I have had to learn how to create boundaries where I can accept their behavior and I can be loving and compassionate towards them and still have a boundary between me and them. Like, I'm not going to accept your behavior past here. I will still be kind and compassionate and loving towards you, but your behavior stops right here. This is my lane. This is where your poor behavior and your poor choices affect me, and I can't allow those in my day-to-day life. Those are not healthy for me. So I shield up, I barrier up against you, I create boundaries. You can't cross that boundary. And that's okay. That's 100% okay for me to do. And not only okay for me to do, but necessary for me to do. And that creating boundaries took a long time to create up front. Because for many years, because of my autism, my ADHD, my neurodiversity, and because I genuinely am that person, I assume that everybody, given the right circumstances, given the choice, they're going to make the right decision. They're going to make a compassionate, loving, unconditional loving decision. Unfortunately, that is not how we behave toward each other in general, one-to-one, or as a society. So I have been hurt. I have been neglected. I've been abused. I've been bullied. Oh my goodness, have I been bullied? I've been hurt, right? So I know that people don't, but I believe that people will. So creating good boundaries for many, many years was reactionary. It was, why did that hurt so much? And why did that person treat me that way? And why was I bullied? And why did people blame me for stuff that isn't my fault? And me withdrawing completely, where I withdraw inside myself. And I had a counselor many years before the psychiatrist say, you hide to exclude people. And I remember thinking, I'm not excluding anyone. I'm just trying to heal. That was that counselor's perspective. I think that was that counselor's trauma, actually, trying to be put off on me. And that's not my... Anyway, so this is the thing. I now have better boundaries up front. I'm not perfect. I make mistakes. I sometimes do not clarify my boundary appropriately. And I am still working on that. I am still working on what that should look like. And it may take me another 50, 60 years to do it great. Probably never perfect, because we're just not perfect. But I continue to work at it. And one of the things that I have learned with my neurodiversity that I've learned to be okay with, mostly, there are days that I struggle with it, is that I need regular time that I don't feel guilty for withdrawing and being on my own for a while, kind of alone, doing my art thing, not seeing clients, having downtime, soaking in my Epsom salt baths, doing my circle rituals, doing the things that I need to do, my daily devotions that I share with you. I need these things. I need these things so that I can come back to equilibrium, so I don't have to use executive function, so I don't have to be peopling, so I don't have to be masking, so I don't have to be doing all the hard work that it takes to be social and to be with other people. Because I am extroverted and I love people. I'm a people person. One of the reasons that I have loved doing customer service for decades in management, I've done everything from retail to management to hospitality. I love it. I love working with people. But it also requires a lot of effort and a lot of practice and a lot of energy. And for decades, I did not take care of myself and make sure I had enough downtime. So I would burn the candle at both ends till it was completely burnt out, and then I fell apart. I can't do that anymore. I don't have the body capacity. And this card is very much a reminder that Isis has given us the power. This card is about learning to use words in an efficient way, recognizing the poisonous words, recognizing the behaviors that are poisonous to ourselves, to heal and raise our vibration. And one of the things about this card is gaining power over the poisonous behaviors and words that we use to keep ourselves down. And if anything from this card, from this daily devotional to take with you, is to recognize that words do have power, and each language, there are words of power. And one of the most powerful words of power in every language is love, unconditional love, transmutation into love. And one of the other most powerful words in our languages is fear, because fear can be transmuted into love every single time. You may have to find how to get there. You may have to disseminate. You may have to untangle. You may have to untangle and burn down to the core reasons of the feelings behind fear, resentment, anger, jealousy, confusion, hopelessness. You may have to boil it down to get there, but you can always transmute. I wish you a beautiful day, a day of love and light and unconditional love. Blessed be, and I will see you in prayer.